Hi, Judith. You have to join a different way, Judith. I don't know how you did it. We're figuring. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm waiting
I
for
think it's
Judith. There we
there. I am.
go. Yay.
We
Hi,
did it.
we did it. Hi, everyone. It's Scarlett Lewis, the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love Movement. So happy to welcome Judith O'Connor back by popular demand on the Jessie Lewis Choose Love Movement Instagram Live. Seeing other people join in. Thank you so much, Judith. We're so happy to have you back. Thank you for joining us again.
My pleasure. Always my excitement.
So we have some housekeeping. Judith asked me to read these off to everyone. Our discussion is going to be about an hour today, and we would like for everyone, if possible, to have a piece of paper and a pen, because you are going to want to take notes. There were lots of questions after our last Instagram Live with Judith. Judith had so much wonderful information and wisdom to share with us, but you can't remember it all. They say that we can only remember 3 things out of an hour conversation, which is difficult for me because I also try to talk about a lot of things when I'm talking to audiences. So please have a paper and pen ready so that you can take notes and be sitting comfortably. We want to be comfortable because we just want to use our ears. We don't want to have to focus on any other discomfort in our body and really listen to what Judith has to say. I'm going to try to be answering questions in the chat if at all possible. And we're going to give you Judith's contact information because you're going to want to get in touch with her after this to continue the conversation. Judith is giving free phone consultations for anybody that wants them, which is what? Amazing. And so we're going to give you the contact information that will enable you to do that. And Judith has so generously offered to donate 10% of any of her consulting fees to the Choose Love movement, which is really amazing. Thank you so much. And you can talk about the different types of counseling that you offer. But Judith, we're so happy to have you with us here today again, back by popular demand, because the last time was so incredibly well embraced by all of our following. And we're going to learn so much over the course of the next hour about how to empower ourselves, and especially during this kind of, I'm calling it a brave new world, because coronavirus has invited, I think it's interesting, it's held up a mirror. Somebody said that to me the other day, and it's so true. A mirror to who we really are, the best of ourselves, but I think also maybe the dark side of ourselves as well, and things that maybe when the world is kind of a more perfect place, we can keep at bay. But when anxiety and fear come out, maybe the worst part of ourselves come out as well sometimes. And so I know, Judith, that you can and will be addressing all of that. And I'm just so happy to welcome you, Judith O'Connor of Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP. Mwah.
Scarlett, if you could briefly tell those who weren't on last week just how we met, because to go into what I'm going to do today is going to be kind of an evolution of the signature program that you went through, that I'm going to be taking aspects of it. So maybe tell our followers a little bit about how we met, and specifically what Ashley did with you, because it's those 2 points that I'm going to want to reference, why you decided to work with me.
Yeah, so, well, I, like a lot of people, was kind of ending a relationship, and I had 2 kids and a job, just a job. And I I was probably at a low point in my life, and but I always like to have fun. People wonder where Jesse got that from, and I would have a group of women, girlfriends, come over every week, and I have a farm, so we'd have a riding lesson in the back. All of us out there with Beth, our wonderful instructor. We'd have so much fun, and then we'd have a couple glasses of wine afterwards. I had a wonderful friend, I still do, Ashley, and she's trying to kind of help me through this really trying period in my life. I'm sure it took a lot of patience on her part, and I was kind of like in a blaming type, complaining, fault finding, finger pointing phase, really angry, and as we were gathered around, talking in a group, she was talking about energy, and she was saying, you really need to be more protective of yourself. You let everyone in, and you need to, and I said, oh, I don't really understand what you're saying. And she said, well, I'm going to open myself to you. And so she just kind of intentionally opened herself to us. And I felt my cheeks flush. And I said, wow, I felt that. And she said, okay, I'm going to close myself and just protect myself. And I felt like almost like a cool breeze wash over me. And I said, okay, I feel that there's something there. And she said, well, I learned all this from Judith, and Judith can really help you. I think you need to see Judith. So I actually signed up, Judith, for your counseling sessions. Kiss your therapist goodbye ASAP. I like that concept. I've been in therapy my whole life. And by the way, despite that, still made every mistake in the book that you could make. and have had, I am not putting down therapists, but I haven't had great luck with therapists. And so went through an 8-session course with you that changed my life. I went from finger pointing and fault finding to taking personal responsibility and really being a creator of what my life was going to look like instead of being an observer. And I was just so much happier, so much more in my skin. And it also set me up. What I learned from the sessions with you set me up to help me choose love after Jesse's murder. And that is saying a lot. In fact, Judith, you were our first executive director. When I started the foundation, I pulled in people that I trusted from around me, and you helped me create the Choose Love movement. You were there right by my side. We worked together to do it for a couple of years. So I love sharing you with the world because you have had an incredible impact on my life. And you have so much wisdom and so much to offer, but it's in a different way. It is in an I don't know how else to describe it except that it's so empowering, and you have the confidence in everybody that we have everything we need within us, and you just help bring it out, and you really help us see, have awareness of it, and focus on what is right with us and not what's wrong with us, which is how we're wired to think, and which is how a lot of the therapists that I've seen anyway, that's how they operate. Anyway, Judith, I'm gonna, why, and I know, but why don't you explain to everybody why you call your practice Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP?
Thank you, Scarlett. And always thank you for your acknowledgement. But I give that thanks not from a place of ego, because the acknowledgement you're giving me, I would never be receiving today if you didn't take the tools that you learned and run with them. And why I had asked you to begin sharing a little bit about our history is what you learned from Ashley, those two aspects. She talked to you about what I call energy medicine, and she introduced you to Louise Hay, that I call the founder of what I use as self-hypnosis, teaching people to be very mindful of the power of their thoughts. The name of my program, Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP, first of all, is not to sound at all negative. It really is all about empowerment. And I did meet many people who went through many years where they loved their therapists, but they either didn't want to go on prescription drugs, or they still had the same repetitive patterns happening over and over again in their life. And I also want to, yes, and those patterns are what people are frustrated with, without the understanding of energy medicine and self-hypnosis, which again is what makes my program different. And whether it's my signature program that's on my website, kissyourtherapistgoodbyeasap.com, and the signature program is what you went through, Scarlett, which was the 8-session program. It's now 2 to 8 sessions, as I mentioned a little last week, for those that have done a lot of work and don't need as many sessions because they're already working with energy. They already have a lot of understanding of the tools that I do share. But the name of the program, again, was really to get people's attention. And I wanted to get people's attention. I wanted people to know that there is another way than maybe the traditional way that you've gone your whole life. And what that difference, again, is learning about energy, how to work with your own energy. I'm going to be doing a brief little at the end of today, if somebody could let us know when it's 2:50, because I want a few minutes to introduce everyone that's on with us to a little deeper understanding of energy and of being grounded, which is what I'm going to talk about today. That being grounded is how we can be in our power. We need to be present and in our body. And right now, people are worried about the future, so they're way off in future land, or they're dealing with, why didn't I do such and such in the past? And we know that past future thinking is anything but being in the present. And now more than ever, we want to be grounded, which I'll be talking about in a little while. But again, the reason the name was to let people know, what is the alternative to traditional therapy? Why should I go through your program or do sessions with you? Why should I? And action speaks louder than words. It's the testimonials like Scarlett, like Perry, Ashley, the testimonials on my website. People all say the same thing. And it's not that I'm patting myself on the back, because no one would have success if they weren't at a place in their life where they're open to embracing these tools and working them. And I know, Scarlett, you work very hard. It's very focused work, but I give homework between the sessions, things to think about. What also is important in the signature program is the hour-and-a-half cognitive session that we had for 8 sessions. So we spent an hour and a half, 8 times, talking about what was coming up during the week, what was coming up in dreams, what your unconscious was showing, where there needed to be work and focus. So it's a combination of all those things that make the program work very effective. And then there's individual work that folks want to do, whether it's insomnia. Right now, lots of folks are, I'm hearing, unable to sleep because of so much pressure on their mind. And maybe some of that not being able to sleep could also be that you might be picking up a lot of the fears and anxiety of the people around you, which is another reason I'm going to end today with that little grounding exercise. So you can feel more grounded and centered within yourself, and with a boundary that I'll be speaking of. So if people around you are freaking out, you can respect them freaking out and not feel like you need to take that in or on yourself.
They say that anxiety doesn't start with one person. It's kind of a group thing, and it's the most contagious feeling that there is. And so is calm, alternatively. But right now, we're not just picking up anxiety from people that are around us. We're picking up anxiety from the media. And the media is just giving us kind of what sells, right? Which is fear. And we're wired towards negativity. We're looking for negative every day. The majority of our thoughts are negative and repetitive. And not to say that it's not an uncertain time, because it is. It's an unprecedented time for our lifespan for the past 100 years. But we've been through difficulty like this, and we will get through this as well. And very important to maintain hope and remain calm, especially with my limited understanding of neuroscience and how our brain works. And when we are coming from a fearful place, we are not making rational decisions. And of course, we want to be making decisions from a logical and rational place in our brains, always. And when we find that we're not, that is not productive.
No. And often that way of thinking happens, I say, when someone is not present, when they're not in their body, when they are in all the anxious feelings. And what you just said, energy is very contagious. It's like, we know the coronavirus is contagious, but negative thinking and negative energy to people that aren't aware of how to protect themselves can often take on the emotions and feelings and anxiety of those around them, not know they've picked it up from those around them, think it's their own anxiety. So it's, again, another reason why energy medicine is such an important thing to learn. And in my program, as you know, I have a reading list along with the homework and assignments between the sessions, because once folks see the impact of working with energy medicine, they want to know more and they want to go deeper because it all makes sense. And also, when I speak to everyone about why work with this program, it's also to learn to access your own skills and talents and abilities, and how to work with those skills and those abilities within you to find out what is holding you back, what might be the cause of some of those repetitive negative patterns. And that becomes what I call the investigation work. That's very exciting when you're working with energy, because traumas and experiences of the past are what, if they're not dealt with when it happens, which often it isn't, then people repress those feelings and they live in the body. And as Louise Hay says, who is, we know, the founder of affirmation work, if the blockages remain in the body, they show up physically. And again, the Louise Hay book that I've recommended to the world for 33 years, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I think everyone on the planet should own it, because it validates what I'm speaking of, the importance of finding out where there may be blockages within you and then finding the skills and tools you have to release them. Strokes for different folks, and not everybody's in and do that deeper work. Different strokes for different folks, but for there's a lot of support in the program to books that really support all that I'm teaching and all that you're practicing. And I can very confidently say, the first time I meet with anybody, if you go home and do this energy medicine guided journey that I'm going to offer you, if you are committed to your own self and to healing and getting better and doing better, then you will see immediate results. And I say that with such confidence every time I meet with someone, because again, it's not what I do, it's what you do and what everyone does with these make sense tools.
Yeah, I think you're saying energy medicine a lot, and it's sounding a little woo-woo, and it's really not, or I wouldn't have done it. It is really all based in science, and maybe you could give us a little example of how to deal with anxiety, which is what a lot of people are experiencing now. And even if those who are on with us are not experiencing it themselves, perhaps they know somebody that is, and how could you help somebody that you know that has anxiety?
Anxiety will be addressed when I go through the fingers, because I'm going to do what I did last week.
Okay.
Talking about each finger representing different things. But in answer to your question right now, anyone dealing with anxiety, it's always compounded by thoughts, negative thoughts, fearful thoughts, watching the news or hearing people in our lives that are worrying about a whole bunch of things. And again, if we're the type of person that picks up a lot, that could be a contributor to that anxiety. So ways of responding, several. Certainly going out and walking every day, moving your body, not getting stuck. And a lot of times anxiety,
stuck here.
And those mental thoughts can often, if they're not dealt with, they can lead you down a very negative tunnel that goes right to depression. Anxiety, depression, then the news, and then everybody around us. And then it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of I think bad, I think sad, oh my God, it's bad. So it's recognizing first the normalcy in the anxiety, not judging yourself or if someone in your life is anxious, having compassion for that anxiety, speaking to the anxiety. It's understandable that A, B, C, and D is an uncomfortable thought and what's going on in your life, but let's try to focus on some of the positives. Let's try to look at bringing in some positive thinking as a way to address that anxiety. Like, I am really a person that has great faith. So let me do some prayer and some affirmation that this too will pass. And again, it's first having compassion for the feelings, but then recognizing there must be movement. And I'm going to speak about that today on the finger for emotions, energy, movement. We got to keep things moving.
Because everything that we're feeling is legitimate and valid. Everything that everybody's feeling, the anxiety, any feeling that you're having is valid. And but you may not want to stay there. It was funny. I had a really good friend, and she was having a problem. I've got really good perspective. I give people really good perspective on what a bad day looks like. So she's complaining about the same problem for a couple of days. And I said, she's like, wow, it's really depressing me. I can't even eat. And I said, oh, are you ready to switch out of that negative thought pattern now? And she's like, actually, I think I am. And I said, okay, well, why don't you start thinking of how much you have to be grateful for. I said, wow, gosh, because she just moved into a new, beautiful home. She's got a pool. And it's just like in Florida, it's such a gorgeous place. And she was focusing on this one negative. It was a negative, but it turned out that actually it worked itself out. And she goes, oh, I know you. She goes, you're always good for putting everything into perspective about what a bad day looks like. But, that's also a blessing that I have as well. I know what a really bad day looks like. And not many people have really bad days. I know people that are struggling. I know people, I'm very close to people who are struggling. But looking from the outside in and seeing, they have beautiful, healthy families and they're outdoors and wonderful businesses that are thriving even in COVID-19. It's like, which are you going to focus on?
But something you said that's really, really important. The feelings, we know from life in general, the worst thing to do is repress a feeling. All feelings are valid. Mm-hmm. Love, happiness, fear, anger, they're all emotions. So to pretend that what's going on isn't making us anxious, but to do something with it. And again, I believe if you're sad, cry and use all the tissues. If you're angry, yell. Go out by yourself near the water and just yell. If you are really anxious about a problem, talk with a friend. Sometimes talking it out can help you move past it as well.
I think acknowledging our anxiety important, don't you think?
It is.
Yeah, acknowledging it, because
Acknowledging
there's a valid reason to be anxious, but it's not a productive place to be.
No, we don't want anyone to get stuck there, but not acknowledge it. So I think I'm going to move into the helping hand because time goes fast. And I love talking all the time with you about all of this because we know, and anyone listening should hear, that what we're talking about works or we wouldn't be talking about it. And how empowering is that?
So empowering.
So empowering. So the hand idea was just to give someone a little something to hold on to right now. Some tips that are certainly a part of my program that I'm going to be touching on. And we're going to start with the thumb. How important it is. In order to be our best selves, we need to know ourselves, we need to love ourselves, and we need to acknowledge how important it is that we do that. And then what does it mean to love ourselves? Well, I'm starting with physically. If you really, really love yourself, how are you taking care of yourself these days? How are you eating? Are you really mindful of really eating wonderful, nutritious foods, knowing that your body needs strength more than ever, and that you want to feed your body all those good foods? You want to be hydrating. You want to be mindful of the water that you're drinking every day. You want to be mindful of your exercising. Are you? Yes, I got mine right here. Exercising. So many times people say, oh, I never have time. I can't exercise. But now, why not? So again, that's another way of taking care of your body. How are you sleeping? That's taking care of yourself physically. Because if you're not sleeping well, sleep deprivation is very real. So again, these are all very important things to be putting your energy into. Eating, sleeping, resting, exercising, anything and everything to take care of your physical body as best you can. Then we move to figure, which is the mental health. How's your mental health? How are you doing mentally? Are you running positive thoughts? Are you helping others if they're running a lot of negative thoughts to teach them? You know, you can flip them. A negative thought can be flipped into a positive, but first acknowledge the negative thoughts, like we were talking about, acknowledge the anxiety. Acknowledge it, but don't get stuck in those negative thoughts because they also will pull you down that rabbit hole into depression. So try to take those negative thoughts and flip them into a positive. The positive isn't going to seem real. That's what affirmations are all about. If the positive felt real, you wouldn't need to affirm something different. It's the negative thought, oh my God, this virus is never going to end. We don't want our subconscious to hear that. We want our subconscious to hear, I have faith.
It's not even true. I mean, we don't know if it's true. So.
Right. So we want to be, again, recognizing those negative thoughts whenever we can, looking to flip them into positive affirmations, and then know that our thoughts can really positively affect us because how we think affects how we feel. So I'm going to move to the middle finger.
Before you move, how we think impacts how we feel, which impacts how we behave, which impacts our relationships and our decision making. And it's so vitally important how we think. And of course, we don't always have a lot of control all the time about what happens to us. We certainly we would never have chosen the coronavirus, of course, right? And we can't control that, but we can control how we thoughtfully respond to it. And how do we do, and what can we control of ourselves? We control right here. We control our thoughts. And not that many people are aware of that. Most people are controlled by their thoughts. They don't realize that's how they can take back their control of their thoughts. And it's starting out by just being present. You have to be present to become aware. Think about what you're thinking about. And if you remember, Judith, because you were at Jesse's funeral, and And I actually asked the congregation, because everybody had been saying, what can we do? And so I stood up and I said, thank you. There is something that everyone can do. You can start thinking about what you think about, since this whole tragedy started with an angry thought in Adam Lanza's head, right? He was just a 20-year-old kid that was thinking bad thoughts and not aware that, and not having help, having been bullied, so much pain and suffering. And, think about what you're thinking about and choose one loving thought over an angry thought. And by doing that, you'll make yourself feel better. It's pretty simple. Loving, kind, caring, compassionate, civil thoughts feel good. That's reflected in how we feel, obviously, and how we treat others. Angry, hateful, resentful thoughts feel bad. That's also reflected in how we treat one another. So choose one. I asked everybody to choose one loving thought over an angry thought, and that one simple thing changed people's lives. And these were, I tell kids, these were adults. These were like, there was a doctor in the Midwest who said it changed his life, and all sorts of people who were really smart, but they had their lives changed just by that one simple thing. And that can be life-changing for people, because we can change our thoughts, and affirmations are a great way to do that. We actually teach them in the Choose Love for School program, in the Choose Love for Home program for communities. They're so important that we are able to take control over our thoughts. And even before Jesse died, I had affirmations all over my house. That's how much I believe in them. I had them on our glass shower door. I had them on our mirror where we all brush our teeth. I had them on the refrigerator. I had them on the door going outside. And they were affirmations just for all of us. I am a good person. I love myself. I mean, they're pretty simple, but it's really important that we acknowledge that, and we tell ourselves that.
Absolutely. So well said. And I remember that day when you stood in church, and I'm glad you shared it, because that to me is yet another reason that you did all the work you did. That I say all the time that empowerment, the definition of empowerment, is being able to look back at any or do and not wish you did it differently. And there you were, hours after your son was murdered, and you stood up in church and said to everyone, take an angry thought and change it. I mean, talk about being an empowered woman in the present moment, which is exactly where you were and how powerful. And you said, Jesse's with Jesus, and this is what I want to say and what Jesse wants me to say. And it was just, like I said, we'll never forget it, because talk about a powerful statement coming from an incredible woman, you, Scarlett. And I will say always, and this is my belief system, that Jesse chose you to be his mother, because look at what you are doing with the Choose Love movement and where you've gone with what you've learned, and how exciting it is to watch how you're impacting the world and children all over the world. And I feel so blessed to have met you. I feel blessed today to be talking to the folks that are listening to us, because again, what we're doing is passing on what we know helps, what we know works, and what we know is different than the traditional ways that people have been thinking about their problems in their life. Come into your power, be grounded, know the gifts you have, find them, use them, and then pass it on to others, which you can't not want to do when something like this happens, and when you learn things that you know work. So the third finger is our emotional body. Ooh, that's a biggie. Talk about energy medicine, and I never want to get woo-woo, and I'm glad you said that, Scarlett, because the reason it's not woo-woo is it's physics, it's energy. We know that we all have energy. We know if we stick our finger in a socket, we know that energy flows through us. We know chi or life force or all these words using that. But when we speak about emotions and the emotional body, and the emotions that come from our negative thoughts or our positive thoughts. Obviously, our positive thoughts make us feel good. Our negative thoughts don't. But when we look at energy, again, we want to acknowledge those emotions that feel bad. We don't want to stuff them or discount them. We want to acknowledge them, we want to express them, and we want to keep the energy of those thoughts moving from negative to positive. From, again, realizing, as you just said, what can we think about that's going to make us feel good? Which is kind of going to the next finger, where we're going to be counting our blessings
Wait, I
every
have
day.
to say it though. You're talking about emotions, and it's just perfect that it's the middle finger. That's all I want to say. I had to say it.
I know. You couldn't resist that last week either.
I know I can't, because, yeah, because I'm human too.
And then that's where my higher self says, well, talk one other thing about the middle finger before you go to the fourth. The middle finger is in the center of our hand. The middle finger can remind us to be centered and grounded within ourselves. And to, as you'll hear when I do the little energy exercise, that it's so important to be centered and grounded and aware, again, of the abilities and gifts we have when we are present. The fourth finger, after we deal with those emotions, and again, there's a lot, I don't want to sound like I'm rushing past it, but emotions are such an important part of living, of healing, of expressing, of learning, of growing. We don't want to discount any feelings or emotions. We want to know we have the power, like Scarlett said, we have the power to choose our thoughts. We also have the power to work with our emotions consciously. So that I go much deeper into in my program work, but we want to acknowledge those emotions. They need to be embraced, especially the difficult ones. The fourth finger is wake up every morning and count your blessings. Let that finger be a reminder when you're lying in bed, before you get up, or if you're in the shower, begin the day by counting your blessings, because they're always there. It's a matter of focusing on them and really making that an important part of your day, of your journey, of knowing that that is a wonderful thing to do for yourself, always. At the same time that you're counting your blessings, look at making a list, or if you've made the list, reviewing the list of all the things that you promised yourself you'd do if only you had more time. And we've all said that for years. If only I had more time, I would do this or that. I know some of you are still working and you may not have extra time, but I also know there may be many that do have a lot of time. So make that list, and then maybe on that day you'll say, yeah, that project that I've been promising myself to do for 3 years, I'm going to start it today. It gives a great sense of accomplishment, of intention setting, of following through. Again, you're taking care of yourself, which goes to the baby finger, and the baby finger.
Can I say something before we go to the baby finger? Just
Yes.
About gratitude. We call it the great mind shifter. So, in other words, all of those tens of thousands of thoughts that we have every single day, science tells us, the latest neuroscience tells us, that we have between 50 and 70,000 thoughts a day as human beings, the majority of which, between 70 to 80% of our total thoughts every day, of which are negative, and over 95% are repetitive. So the majority of our thoughts are negative and repetitive. Here's the key to knowing: you can only focus on one thought at a time. And if you don't believe me, after this Instagram live, try it. You can only focus on one thought at a time. That means you can only focus on an anxious, lower energy, angry, negative thought, or a grateful thought. And you can literally shift your mind by using gratitude. Remember the story of my friend who was focusing for days on a negative situation. And I just said at one point, when you're ready to switch out of that negativity, let me know. Oh, wait, I am ready. What do I do? Think of all the things that you have to be grateful for, and it will switch you out of it. That's why I highly suggest you have a piece of paper and a pen by your bed. You write 3 things, and they have to be different every day, that you're grateful for before you go to bed. You will sleep better. Write 3 things that you have to be grateful for right when you wake up. I use this mind shifting thing all day long. I all day long. I don't write them down. I tick them off in my head all day long, my gratitudes. And they can be very, very small, but I'm grateful for them anyway. And it really helps keep me up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, when we start focusing on gratitude, we also start seeing more of the little miracles that happen every day. The more grounded we are, the more aware we are of synchronicity and things that happen every single day. And the more we focus on those blessings, the easier it is to see them as well.
And I'm so glad you just talked about that, because our former board of director, who is a doctoral professor at Quinnipiac University, he calls those, Dr. Tom Pruszinski, love him so much, he calls those micro moments of joy. And he says micro moments of joy are happening every day. They're all around us. But unless we practice being present in the moment, not worrying about what happened in the future, ruminating, I guess that's called, about what happened, or being anxious about our future. Did I say ruminating over the past? Anxious for our future, but being present. When you're present, then you're going to notice these micro moments of joy that are happening every single day in your life. And then once you realize it, then you extend them, you savor them, and it helps with your level of happiness.
It's so true. It's so true. And we're so blessed to know that, and to be able to recognize these every single day. They're there.
All around us, all around us.
All around us.
So for those of you who just joined, my dear friend Carol, just know that those micro moments of joy are all around you, and you can switch. You can only focus on one thought at a time. So when you're ready to switch out of whatever you're feeling, you think of something to be grateful for. And we all have so much to be grateful for. And by the way, another little trick is, when you find yourself saying, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, switch it. Switch the have to get to. I get to do this. I get to do that, because your have to is someone else's get to every single time.
Oh, I love your words. I love it. I love the analogies that you use as well. I do. I always have. So we're going to go to the baby finger, and the baby finger says, don't call me a baby finger. Don't think that I'm not just as important as this finger.
Woo! Which is emotions, by the way.
And the other one. It reminds me of my mother.
Judith, my gosh. I wanted to do that the whole time, and then you did it.
Well, the little one reminds me of my mother, who was 4'10", and she used to say, it's not quantity, it's quality. So the quality of this baby finger is to hold up all we've been talking about. How are you going to take good care of yourself physically, every aspect of your physical health? How are you going to honor and respect your mental health, and how you are tending to those thoughts? How are you honoring your feelings and expressing them and counting your blessings? Well, the little baby finger says, if you don't try very hard to create some semblance of scheduling and structure, don't think because of the coronavirus that everything's up for grabs. The people that are succeeding right now are the people that are getting up in the morning and doing what they did before. Getting dressed, putting on makeup, making the bed, doing whatever you do. That's me. I'm showing my age. Putting on makeup when I'm not going out. But again, structure and scheduling, that's how all these things are going to happen. Make time to go out and walk if you have not been able to exercise. Make time just to work on affirmations, and maybe make some of your own and go around the house and paste them all over the mirrors like Scarlett does. All of what this is, you need some structure and some scheduling. So that is kind of my helping hand to everyone. I don't know what time it is, but I did want to have time to guide everyone.
Oh, yep, I'll let you do that. Let me just talk about structure of the day. It's so important for kids and for us, but to have some sort of structure to their day. It helps us, but kids, but us. I mean, we're just really big kids. I mean, come on. Right? I talk to kids and I'm like, hey, by the way, not real little ones, but older middle school, high school. I'm like, we have the same issues that you do. So you might as well learn these essential life skills now so you don't get to be my age and continuing to struggle with them, right? It's kind of true. But the structure thing is really important because it does provide a sense of safety. And so it's important to try to give some structure to your day. With that being said, I'm like the least structured person. And I'm saying that because I just want everybody who I know that joined us to know that I'm being 100% honest. But it is.
Have you written an affirmation about creating structure is easier and easier in my life?
I need to do that. Thank you, Judith.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so it's about 2:50, and I know that you had some stuff that you wanted to go over. This flew by.
I know. It always did. Even our hour-and-a-half sessions used to seem like 10 minutes. I remember.
It's true.
So much goes on. So what I wanted to say, I'm going to do a very brief, non-woo-woo energy exercise. Okay. And it's to introduce everyone to the feeling of being grounded and what it means and why it's important to be grounded, to be in the present moment.
Okay.
Anyone that has any history of any kind function in their childhood or in their past, usually that happens. People learn to go on what I call autopilot, and they can operate their lives.
Oh, wait a minute. That's nobody that's listening here.
Welcome.
What are you talking about?
So autopilot, we can operate very well. We're thinking, we're here, but it's all our head and above our head. So when people are on autopilot, often they leave their keys at home, they miss the exit where they're going, they forget something because they're not totally grounded, present, and aware of everything going on to then be able to move forward accordingly. So what I'm about to do, I do with everyone I meet, whether it's doing my signature program or my other private sessions for individual issues or my classes. And all this also is on my website that's been updated, Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP. And before I do this, I want to say one more time what you said earlier. Why I insist on a free phone consult is truly to let you know if where you're at in life is a place that I can support you and help you, and for you to know more of who I am in that private phone consultation, again, to determine whether or not it would be a good step for you to move forward with working with me. Okay, so for this little exercise, I'd like you all to look out your window wherever you are and to look at a tree if you can. And if you can't look at a tree, imagine the last tree that you did look at. And look, oh, thank you, Scarlett. And as you're looking at the tree, think about the root system it has down into the earth to not be all falling over and laying down flat. Imagine the strength of those roots that are holding up those trees. And why I use that analogy is we also have an energetic root system. It's like electrical things that have to be grounded. We also have an opportunity, and this is where you hear the word mind, body, spirit, how to work with your mind, how to work with energy, like Ashley did with you, Scarlett. She used her mind to project her energy out. So what I'm going to do today is ask everyone to take a moment to close their eyes. And again, it's going to be very brief, but I'd like you to close your eyes, and I'd like you to just focus on your breath Find your own comfortable, natural rhythm of breathing, inhaling and exhaling, and just allowing a comfortable wave of energy to wash over your mind and your body as you're setting this intention to be very present with me, right here in this moment, feeling your breath, feeling your body. And as you're feeling your breath and your body, take a moment to scan your body, noticing if there are any areas of tension or tightness. And if there are, imagine on your out breath that you're able to release and let go of some or all of that tension or tightness. It's a reason a lot of people like to think about doing these little exercises. Focus on your body, feel that tension, breathe it out. So as I say breathe it out, I'd like you to bring your attention now down to the base of your spine. And from that point in your body, imagine that you, like the roots of the trees outside, that you have a grounding system too. And by your own intention, from the base of your spine, just imagine that you have an energetic connection going from your body down into the center of the planet. And some people even feel a gentle tug when they set that intention and send that energy down into the planet. Some people may not feel anything or see anything. You don't have to. You're just setting the intention. I'm grounded. I'm present. I'm breathing out any tension or tightness that might be in my body. And, oh, I have a place to dump it. I can dump it down my grounding cord. Breathing, grounding, being present. And before opening your eyes and coming back, I'd like you to imagine one more thing. And it's an analogy I use is that of an egg. Your physical body is like the yolk of the egg. This energy moving around you that everyone has, it's scientifically documented, it's electromagnetic field. That energy moving around you is like the white to the egg. And I'd like you now to imagine that like an egg has a shell, you can put what's called a boundary, identifying where you end and everybody else begins. And in your mind's eye, in your own inner knowing, set the intention that you're grounded, you have a place to dump out anything negative, that you're grounded, and that you've identified a boundary to hold your energy. And then bring your attention back up into the center of your head, being right here in this beautifully powerful present moment, and open your eyes and be with us. And that is something very simple. Anyone can do it anytime. If you feel overwhelmed or that you're scattered or you've picked energy up from other people, take a moment, close your eyes, breathe, think of that grounding, think of your boundary. And I can promise you, if you do that little exercise, and if you want to go deeper, call me. I'll tell you a little more about it. That is what I believe changes everybody's life, because you're learning how to turn off, connect, identify, I'm here, I'm present, I'm grounded, I'm protected. And then, of course, depending on your own beliefs, you can go to other places with that, your higher self, God, whatever, again, you believe. But this is just a wonderful exercise to become present, because during these times, it's so important to be grounded, to be in our body, to be here, so we can be mindful of our thoughts, of our feelings, of our physical health, of all that we're doing. So we're not saying, oh, I wish I did that differently, because you were scattered and weren't thinking. So I am very grateful to have had this opportunity. Again, I welcome anyone to reach out and call me if you have any questions. And I'm just thrilled to do this anytime, Scarlett.
I do that, but I'm more like, and I love that, feeling like you have roots and grounding yourself. And I think that's synonymous with being present. You know, we go through the day and we have so much stimulus from what we read in the news and from what people are telling us and from phone calls and emails. And every once in a while, not every once in a while, multiple times a day, I have to remind myself to come back to the present moment, and just check in with myself, because right now we're okay. Right now, you're safe and all is well. And it's so important to start from that place of being present. And that is grounding for me. And then moving towards that. And then I just have to say, our formula for choosing love, which is based on Jesse's message of nurturing, healing love, is something that I practice every day, all day long, starting with courage. And we practice courage all day, every day. And sometimes we don't even realize it, but it's the courage to be present. It's the courage to take off that mask that we think other people want us to be, and to be our authentic, true selves, to speak up,
Our truth.
to face our fears. So much courage required to lead an authentic life. Then using gratitude as the great mind shifter. When you have those negative thoughts coming in, reminding yourself you can only focus on one thought at a time. You want to focus on those negative thoughts, that's fine. Maybe you have to, but at some point you want to shift out of that. Use gratitude. It's so simple, so powerful. And then forgiveness is so vital. There's so much anger that people carry around with them, a lot of times from their childhood. And it's like the only way that you can cut that cord that attaches you to pain is through forgiveness, period. And then compassion in action, which is doing for others. I know I learned that the most healing thing that you can do for yourself is doing for others. In fact, that's why we were all put on this earth. We're all in this together, right? All of us. And the quicker we learn that, the better off everybody will be. And it's so incredibly healing for yourself. In fact, there's a 22% reduction in mortality when you do for others. And that's the formula for choosing love. And that's what I practice every day, all day long. But Judith, the sessions with you that I did the whole 8-session course of Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP 2 years before Jesse died. And I give my own personal testimony of how much you taught me and how you set me up to be able to thoughtfully respond to even the murder of my son by choosing love. So powerful. And that's why I asked you to come on with me. That's why I'm so happy to have you here. And we'll have more sessions together. But I just want to sing your praises to the rooftops, because you are a very powerful teacher. And it's one thing though to get it in here, you have to practice it, but you give ways of doing that. And your sessions are incredibly powerful, and I highly recommend them to all the listeners. If you really want to take your personal power back and be in control of your life and make the best of it, what we're realizing now, it amazes me, because people are like, oh my God, we might die tomorrow, we might get sick. It's like, we're never guaranteed tomorrow, ever. I know that. It doesn't matter how old you are. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So it doesn't mean that you live your life like there is no tomorrow, but it does mean that you want to take control of your life right now. You do not want to live it as a victim. It is not feel good. You want to take your personal power back by choosing love. A great way to do that, if you need help, is to go to Judith, go to her website, Kiss Your Therapist Goodbye ASAP. It's what I did, and it helped me, and it helped set me up. Who knew I was going to face this horrific tragedy? But by going to you, Judith, you set me up to be able to choose love after that. I mean, there isn't a bigger testimony, I don't think. It's pretty amazing. And I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scarlett. I'm grateful to you forever and ever, and grateful for where you've gone with what you learned. It's one thing to learn this and practice it, but as you said, you get so excited with it that you can't not want to pass it on. But you're doing more than passing it on. You are changing the world. There are children all over this planet being impacted by the things that you and I talked about all those years ago. Mm-hmm. Being powerful, understanding the negativity of holding anger, of why forgiveness is so important. Mm-hmm.